course, the YouTube astrology will reduce the spirituality to the 8th house and Ketu. Sometimes they will add the 12th house, and some even will include the Neptune. But we know that there is more to this. I remember when I showed the last time which houses are representing the spiritual aspects of person, I've got the comment, hey, but you forgot the 8th house and Scorpio. But we must remember the fundamental premise that Jyotisha is Vedanga. So its function is to assist in understanding the spirituality of the Vedas and also understanding one's own self. For many people who are using the Vedic astrology to eye to their spiritual growth and to be able to answer the question, what events can block spirituality and when it can happen. And in this video, we'll be analyzing 4 such principles, which will make it the whole process easy and practical. But the best thing is that those rules which I will show you are so universal that you will be able also to apply them to other areas of life like career, relationship, and health. So we will start with the example and then we will derive those rules which you will be able to also use in your life. So let's roll the intro and start to investigate. Okay, before that, the short preliminary, maybe 1 minute, but imagine if you are going to the doctor and he will tell you, can I sacrifice like 5 minutes, but then I will bring the microscope and also I will use the MRI, or just we can start right now, but I will only depend on the eyesight. Of course, you will rather wait a few minutes and be able to have access to those more advanced tools. Why we do the rectification? To have the access to Vargas. And why we are using the Vargas? To get more nuanced information about our life, both in a static way and for the prediction. And because we will be using today Vimsamsa chart, which is the special chart of the spiritual practice, we need to have rectified Dashamsa and the Navamsha. Because Vimsamsa is D20, so it has 2 options if you have properly rectified Dashamsa. I have rectified Dashamsa to Sagittarius, and also using Audaika and Narayana Dasha, I have rectified Navamsha to Cancer. If you like to master those dashas, then you can see the link in the description. Very short about Dashamsa. We have a Sagittarius Lagna, so 7th Lord is Mercury in the 5th house. So we have a freelance or business related to acting, which is Mercury, and in the 5th house of big recognition, and the Aries, fiery sign, so easy, quick to learn. Inborn talent, we could say, and we have a Venus in 9th house of freelance and the projects, so definitely Sagittarius is the right one. Okay, so whose chart we'll analyze today as an example to understand and derive those principles. I think everyone at least once watched the video No Country for Old Men, and this is the main protagonist with the gun. The name is Javier Bardem, and we are lucky to have rating AA, which means that his chart is very accurate because his birth time is documented. And you may wonder why I have chosen this chart. And this is because he admitted that he gave up the spirituality, or in this case, it was the Catholicism, after the demise of the father. And we can use this example and to see the connection between dropping the spirituality. We have also the time of demise of the father and see all the connections in the chart. And then we can derive these principles and use it in our own charts. By the way, his argument was that the religion is promoting this explanation and self-care. Probably, from what I understood, is that he took it as something which is not authentic or maybe illusionary. And how we will know that these plans will be responsible for those events? As always, we will use the Dasha. We have a timing system by which we know in which year, in which month, which planet is acting in our life. So using the Dasha in the past, we will be able to assign those plans to those events. So first we'll see the principles we have for the demise of the father based on the Rashi, the main chart, and also Dashamsa. Imagine doing that without the principles given in the Kova from Sandaiji. We didn't know that we have to see the Dashamsa chart, which is the special chart for parents, and they use the killer's houses from the parent house. So 4th for mother, 9th for father, and from them we see those Maraka houses, which is 2nd and 7th. So as you can calculate for father, it would be 3rd and 10th. So planets which are activating those houses will give either the health challenges and always will be active at the time of demise. For people who don't know this, they can, for example, take the ninth lord badly placed, or ninth lord weak, or ninth lord in a bad house, and then they will try to see how the malefic is activating this principle. This may show just other challenges in the life of father, not necessarily the health. This is like you want to solve your tax problems, but then you are going to the podiatrist who is just solving the things with your feet, right? So both are dealing with the challenges you have, but on completely different levels. So also in the Jyotish, before investigating, you need to be clear what level you want to analyze. And the same thing will happen when we will go to the Rashi chart. That happened in a Venus Rahu, in the standard Vimshotri. The standard Vimshotri here will play a more important role because we are checking the health of the parents. And then it was in Rahu, Venus Utpana. If you want to also know the variation, and you can see in that chart if there is some connection to this Maraka houses from the father. So in the future, we will analyze those Dvadashamsa and those Varga charts more. So if you don't want to miss, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Okay, so we did Dvadashamsa. Let's now go to the Rashi chart. In the Rashi, we have this privilege that when we are analyzing the father's demise, we can also connect it to other areas. We got the zoom out perspective, so it's also very valuable. And again, if you take the wrong planet, then you are at the mistake that you will be talking about something else. Imagine trying to assess your health, for example, based on your credit line in the bank. So you want to know your cholesterol and you are going to bank and asking about how is the relationship between this, your cholesterol and credit line, right? It has nothing to do. So we also have to find the specific planet which will be responsible for what we seek in the chart. So there is the ninth house, there is the ninth lord, and there is the dispositor of the ninth lord, or how we call it in Sanskrit, Anitya Karaka. And that planet will be responsible for the health of the father, both when it comes to description, but also with the timing. So father house, ninth house, the lord is Venus. Venus is in the Pisces, so the dispositor is Jupiter and Ketu. And Jupiter and Ketu both are in the ascendant. So we can say that they will have a big impact on one's view, how the life will go. They can block or unblock the life. So it's like on the head. This event will be very important trigger. We can also see that this Jupiter is in the Rahu sign because Virgo is also loaded by Rahu. There is this Ketu and Rahu Parivartana, so there is a strong Jupiter-Rahu connection to the dispositor. Therefore, it may show a very challenging diseases like cancer and so on. Okay, we did that first thing. Now we are going to the second, which is 4 rules for fading out spirituality. And the third point will be what is replacing that. So you will be able then to use it with your own yogas for your own benefit. So why did it affect spirituality? If there is any spiritual yoga, then it would be Jupiter and Ketu, because they are both loading the Pisces, which is natural 12th house. And 12th house is all about the moksha, about the liberation. So the deep spirituality is always 12th house. Natural lords are Jupiter and Ketu. Therefore, when these two come together, we are talking about Parampara yoga. And this Parampara yoga can be controlled or somehow will be connected to all the areas of the planets which are related to it. And especially if we are talking about the Parivartana. This is very special Parivartana because this is the 1/7 and the node, right? So we have something like turn on, turn off Parivartana here, because if a planet is going to the 7th house from its position, from its house, then we can say that it's like living its meaning, living its principles. And this is especially important in the Rahu Ketu idea or notion, because this is a very we could say peripheral, very extreme. The nodes are always showing extreme. What the Rahu is showing is one extreme, and the totally opposite will be on the Ketu side. So if one is going from Jupiter and Ketu to the 7th house of Rahu, it's like totally living the Parampara yoga. This was all in the time of Venus Rahu. So we have this ninth lord in 7, Ketu is the dispositor, but it has this Parivartana now with the Rahu. So Rahu can activate this Ketu, this demise planet, and it also is doing that, leaving this Jupiter and Ketu, leaving the Parampara. So this is one thing. So what do you think, what will happen? We have figured out that this Ketu, being the dispositor of the ninth lord, is responsible for health. So what will happen in the Venus Rahu, right? In the Parivartana. So now Rahu is very much connected to Ketu, and it's going to its 7th, right? So it's activating the demise, but it's going away from Jupiter Ketu, away from that spiritual yoga. I think you know in which direction this is going. So the central point here was the Karaka. Now let's double check, starting with the house. Do we have some core house for spirituality? The 5th is definitely about mantra or prayers. 9th house is showing our elders. 11th is especially related to the gurus. But again, reviving the basic notion of the Pisces, we have to start with the 12th house. If the lord of the house is weak, or it's an enemy sign, or it's going the 7th from its position, then we can see that this fate is fading away, because the 12th house is very important for the Shraddha or the fate. So you may have many blessings related to the practice, like Jupiterian houses, but the fate is the central thing, the 12th house. If that is not there, then of course that will not fuel the practice. Okay, so we have that sun lording the 12th house, and this is going to which house from the Leo? I think you can count, and you may also get the repeating thing, right? We also get that with the notes. And we know that it was in Venus. Rahu is sub-period of Rahu activating that sun too, right? So we have now this Rahu is leaving the Parampara Yoga, and Rahu is activating the sun, which is leaving the fate house. So we have twofold confirmation, but this is for noobs, right? We are going farther. We are going at least 4. So we can open the Vimsamsa. And Vimsamsa is very interesting because many people will say, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm doing art, I'm into philosophy, I'm into science. And many people are truly spiritual. They are those core, or their consciousness is on the higher level from previous birth. But unless you touch the mala or meditation, or you are doing some sadhana, some practice, then the Vimsamsa is inactive for you, right? So the practice, the spiritual practice, can be seen only in the Vimsamsa chart. Now, how do we see those negative houses there? This could be also challenging. And we call them the mantra killers, right? So you have to find the mantra house and then apply the Maraka principle. So mantra house would be the 5th, and the Dasha was the Rahu Venus. Additionally, we can, for those who know how to use the Narayana Dasha in the Varga, they will know that the Capricorn was also activated at the time. And if we take the Saturn, the Rahu, the Venus, are they connected to the houses, the killer of the mantra in the chart of spiritual practice? You have the chart here and you can check for yourself. And now let's open the Navamsha chart and confirm there what we should check. The Ishta and Dharma Devata for spirituality. They give the blessing for moksha and also protect earthy principles life. And they are in blockage. They are in Rahu Mars combination, which we call Stambhana. Not only that, they are in the 7th house from this beautiful Tapashvi in the Pisces. So the soul, the Atma Karaka, is doing some penance because we have Saturn, Ketu, Venus, Tapashvi Yoga in the, we could say, some kind of ashram in the Pisces. And Rahu Antardasha, the sub-period of Rahu, is taking one away from that meditation and leaving that thing and going in some kind of blockage of this Rahu and Mars. The last point before the summary and derivation, the what is replacing the spirituality. We have this 4 points on the level of Rashi, the Karaka, then we went to the house, the 12th, then we confirmed with the Varga charts, Navamsha and Vimsamsa. So to know what will be replacing, we have to see the other part of the yoga, right? Where the Rahu went. So we have this Rahu, which is showing the animals. If Rahu is connected to Lagna, then the person loves animals. And then also we have the Pisces. So this will be animals living in the ocean, right? Is there any connection of the oceans and Pisces? We know that the all-watery sign will show some kind of watery resort, and the Pisces have the biggest one. So definitely it's there. Of course, one can derive other symbolism for that, and that other symbols will work for other people with the same yogas, but definitely those elements will be in those categories of Rahu and Pisces. Maybe we need the other yogas to investigate something like social work to make it more correct or easy to derive. For example, we could also double check if that thing will be channelized through the work of any social form or format, right? So we have moon in the 10th in the Dashamsa. So if person will work in any type of social or fighting for some rights, especially if Mars is there, right? Mars is like leader or going for some defense, and things like that, then definitely that would be there. And here, guess what, in the 10th house, in the Dashamsa, we have Moon and Mars. So we can see that this will also take the form of formal projects person will be engaged. And this was all in Saturn, in the Mercury in Capricorn, Narayana Dasha, and also person was around 48, 50, which is also the natural age of the sun. And if we see in the Navamsha, we have that Saturn in the Leo, the Capricorn is having that Rahu, also the animals, right? So 10th Lord in the Dashamsa is Rahu in the 2nd house. So that is that another, we could say, company, another project of the person besides the freelance and the business of acting. And that was all born in Saturn, and in the 50 years, because that was activated the other lord of the Rahu. So now the moon, which is the social work or fighting for others, the compassion, the empathy, and also the Rahu is the 10th lord, which is again animals, and Mars with the moon is giving that, we could say, tone of protection or fight. When I first showed this chart, Jupiter and Ketu in the Lagna, I thought, oh, this is a spiritual one. So I've went through these biographies, but then I found that he converted from Catholicism to agnosticism. But maybe if we look at this from a little bit broader perspective, maybe that fight for those animals in the oceans, fight for nature, for freedom, and for the earth is also how he is understanding the spirituality. Because ultimately that Rahu is in the Pisces with the Venus exalted and the Atma Karaka. Okay, so what we've learned from that, we have the right 4 rules. First, if you have any type of spiritual yoga like Jupiter and Ketu, and there is a parivartana, especially if it's in 1 and 7 and involving the nodes, then it may show that in that other periphery of that dasha, like here it was Rahu, one will be living spirituality for those mothers which are related to that other periphery of the yoga. Like here it was Rahu in the Pisces fighting for animals, and that was something which will replace his spiritual seeking. So be careful about this positor, about the parivartana. Those things may disturb your spiritual practice. And then look for 12th Lord, how it is placed, because that will show the fate. If that is defeated in some kind of war or nicha or has any other problem, then it may also show weak fate. So look for nicha banga, because there may be a quite complex situation. For example, you may have weak fate, but then there is some nicha banga of other person, like you have some wife or you have some guru or you have some experience, which is again making it better. And this dynamic also need to be taken into account. The Karaka, like in this case, 12th Lord was Sun, and Sun was in the 6th house of disease in the Rahu and Saturn, which is showing, again, confirming the disease. So the demise or disease of the father is destroying the fate of the person. If that is the moon, it could be related to mother, Mars, and Jupiter to the brothers, and also we could take the Karaka on different levels, like Mercury could be job, and the Venus could be relationship. So see how this planet is placed and see the Karaka to know how this will be connected to your fate. Then we have seen the 9th and 12th from the Karakamsha. See if there is the yoga for blockage. This may be very important because this Navamsha level is working on a very deep thing, right? So then if that is blocked, we may not feel that there is a real intention for some kind of spiritual development. And I would say that this is quite serious. And of course, Vimsamsa, this is the very important for practice. But if it's not in the Rashi, if it's not in the Navamsha, then Vimsamsa is still inactive. Therefore, we must see first the light in the Rashi and in the Navamsha. And then in the Vimsamsa, we can get more details and we can see if there is any blockage to the practice itself. Here we have seen that all of those planets in that time, Rahu, Venus, Saturn, were all in the 6th house. So we can say that also the going away of the fate will also conclude with the stoppage of any ritual like prayer and so on. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you like me to help to analyze your chart regarding the career, health, relationship with the 60 or 90 minutes consultation on the Zoom, then hit me up with this email here. Of course, there are more spiritual combinations like Tapashvi Yoga. If you'd like to learn the nuances of this, then please consider watching this one.